So refinances are up 85% from a year ago. And that's indicative of the market because rates are coming down.
That's right.
Which is awesome. But before we get to that, there's some other mortgage news that is surfacing. And it's a topic that we've heard about before.
Actually, we have. It's funny that you were telling me about that before this. And I was like, man, they were talking about that. What was it? 10 years ago, maybe?
20 years ago. I mean, when I started this topic of 40-year mortgages, that's what we're talking about. Anyhow, right now, there are some people lobbying for 40-year mortgages.
Why do you think that is?
Well, their reasoning is that the 30-year mortgage was created after the Great Depression or during the time of the Great Depression. And at that point in time, the average lifespan was 60. So it allowed people to finance a home basically over their lifespan. So now people are living well into their 80s. And so that's one of the cases that they're making. Also, we all know everything is so much more expensive than it used to be.
Yeah.
And in a lot of markets, wages haven't kept up with the cost of housing. And so by spreading that mortgage payment out over more time, it will decrease the payment.
Which would help people qualify for
it
more.
would. It's a wonderful thing for those purposes. I hate the amount of more interest that people have to pay, though.
Mm-hmm.
It is so much interest. But if it allows you to get into a home at a payment that you can afford, then, what I always do with my clients is I show them how to pay a little bit extra when they can. And then that helps them pay their loan off quicker and pay way less interest over time. So, and there's just seasons in life, right, Jason?
Sure.
Sometimes you just got to get in. You just need to buy a house. You need to get in the market. So everything you can be in you're in and everything's appreciating with you, not around you.
Generally speaking, it is better to own than rent. Renting has its seasons. Not always. I mean, there's certainly cases that owning is not better. But for most people, starting to have a home and real estate is one of the largest causes of wealth generation in the world. The wealthiest corporations, own land.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to know that it's not for everybody, but it is a great way. So I don't think the 40-year note is necessarily a bad thing. Given where we are today, I think there's a lot of people that it would help move. And allow them to get into a home that they own and can start building equity.
Yeah. It could be just like anything. You need a lot of different tools, and sometimes you grab, the flathead screwdriver. Sometimes you grab the Phillips. There are times where this 40-year mortgage could really help you, and there's other times where you may not want anything to do with it.
That's right.
But it's just another tool in the toolbox, and I love that.
Well, and I think, for anybody that's watching this, one of the greatest things that you do for your clients is you give them options. You don't just say, this is the way. You say, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. There's multiple ways to accomplish the goal of either home ownership or refinancing or different things. And you do such a great job really educating your clients on what that looks like and how it looks to benefit them in different time frames.
Thank you. Well, that's important to me. And that's I have the heart of a teacher, and that's how I would want things to be explained to me. And that has worked really well these last 2 decades. So, you should have options. You should get those options explained to you. And at the end of the day, it should be your choice as a consumer, which one of those lines up with your goals. 40-year mortgages. We'll see if it makes a big, comeback with a vengeance, if it's all over the map now. The cool thing is that the 30-year fixed rate is at the lowest point it has been at since April of 2023.
Yeah.
So it's been over a year since we've seen rates where they are. And the most common question people say is, Linda, what would my rate be? Where are rates right now? And that is a loaded question. That is a loaded question, because without knowing your credit score, the type of property you're purchasing, how much money you have to put down, I can't give you a real rate. It's not a one size fits all there either. Your credit score is one of the biggest factors in the rate. And then the type of property you're buying comes right after that. So, but what I can tell you is that if you have a rate in the mid to upper 6s or higher, then you should be reaching out and we should have a conversation. And now may be the time, or we may just need to keep our eye on rates and then set a reminder for me to reach out to you when they get to a certain point that makes sense for you. But definitely, if you're in the mid 6s and higher, you should be reaching out to me.